for the kidneys. The two bean-shaped kidneys are located in the retroperitoneal space, with one on each side of the vertebral column below the diaphragm and the lower edge of the rib cage. The kidneys constantly filter the blood to remove waste products and excess water. These are excreted as urine, which is 95% water and 5% urea and other body waste. Roughly 150 to 200 quarts of blood are processed every day, producing 1 to 2 parts of urine. The kidneys also help the body maintain the proper fluid level, produce hormones that control blood pressure, and makes red blood cells, and activates vitamin D to maintain healthy bones. The renal cortex is the outer region of the kidney. This layer of tissue contains more than 1 million microscopic units called nephrons. The medulla. The medulla is the inner region of the kidney, and it contains most of the urine collecting tubule, and it is a small tube. Next is nephrons. The nephrons are the microscopic functional units of each kidney. It is here that urine is produced through the process of filtration, reabsorption, and secretion. Reabsorption is the return to the blood of some of the substances that were removed during filtration. Each nephron contains a glomerulus, which is a cluster of capillaries surrounded by a cup shape of membranes called the Bowman's capsule and renal tubule. So, how does it work? Firstly, blood enters the kidney through the renal artery and flows into the nephrons. Next, after passing through the filtration system of the glomerulus, the filtered blood containing protein and blood cells leave the kidney and return to the bloodstream through the renal vein. The remaining filter flows into the renal tubules, where elements including some water, sugar, and electrolytes are returned to the bloodstream via a nearby capillary. The remaining waste products are continuously converted into urine, which is transported to the renal pelvis and collected in preparation for entry into the ureters. If waste products are not efficiently removed from the bloodstream, the body cannot maintain homeostasis with a stable balance of electrolytes and other substances.
Now, let's move to the renal pelvis. The renal pelvis is a funnel-shaped region within each kidney, surrounded by the renal cortex and medulla. It acts as a receptacle for the urine from the nephrons before it reaches the bladder through the ureters. The renal pelvis is located at the central and deeply within the kidney. It is formed from the merging of the major and minor calyces in the kidneys. Calyces collect urine from the collecting ducts, then drains from the tip of the pyramids into the renal pelvis. In addition, there is a unique layer found inside the renal pelvis called as the transitional epithelium. The transitional epithelium could stretch and accommodate a large volume of urine before transporting it to the bladder. This flexibility enables the urinary tract to efficiently hold urine before returning to its former shape after emptying. Besides, it also functions as flap valve mechanism, which permits urine to move in a single direction from kidney to the bladder. The main role of the renal pelvis is to collect urine produced by the nephrons in the kidneys. Urine drains from the nephrons collecting ducts into the minor calyces and goes into major calyces and then empty into the renal pelvis. Next is the smooth muscle contractions assist in moving urine from the kidney to the ureter. Smooth muscle cells in the renal pelvis can contract in two directions, which are longitudinal to squeeze and circularly to constrict. Peristalsis is a wave-like motion of muscle contractions that pushes urine from the renal pelvis downward into the ureter. Next, the renal pelvis coordinates with the ureter to avoid backflow of the urine into the kidney. Smooth muscle contractions produce peristaltic waves which ensure that urine travels in a single direction with one-way valves at the junction. Lastly, the renal pelvis helps to regulate the pressure of urine backflow. It serves as a temporary reservoir that can handle changes in urine volume and pressure, preventing pressure from becoming too high and harming the delicate structures of the kidneys and urinary tract. In summary, each kidney contains a funnel-shaped chamber called the renal pelvis, which collects urine from the nephrons. It serves as a temporary storage for urine before it moves down the ureter to the bladder. The lining of the renal pelvis has unique cells that allow it to extend and hold more urine when required. Smooth muscular contractions then push urine out of the pelvis into the ureter. Lastly, it is essential for the urine to move in a single way to prevent it from returning back, as it could damage the kidneys.
Next, moving on to the next part of the urinary system, the ureters. What is actually the ureters? The ureters are muscular tubes that connect the kidneys to the urinary bladder. The ureters play a crucial role in the urinary system by ensuring a one-way flow of urine and preventing it from flowing back up towards the kidney. As for the anatomy of the ureters, they are two muscular tubes, one extending from each kidney to the urinary bladder. Each ureter is approximately 25 to 30 cm, which is 10 to 12 inches long in adults. The ureters are lined with transitional epithelium, also known as urothelium, which allows them to stretch as urine passes through. The ureters begin at the renal pelvis, which is the funnel-shaped structure at the upper end of each ureter where urine collects from the kidney. They descend retroperitoneally, which is behind the peritoneum, along the posterior abdominal wall. They enter the pelvis and cause medially to insert into the posterior aspect of the bladder at an oblique angle. For the anatomy of female ureter, the ureter passes behind the ovarian artery and vein. As it descends into the pelvis, the ureter travels under the uterine artery. The ureter enters the bladder near the lateral fornix of the vagina. In addition, the ureter is also in close proximity to the reproductive organs, particularly the uterus and the cervix. Its close relation to the uterine artery is of clinical significance, especially during gynecological surgeries. While in males, the ureter passes behind the testicular artery and vein. Near the bladder, the ureter passes above the seminal vesicle. It enters the bladder at the base of the bladder near the superior part of the seminal vesicles. In the pelvic cavity, the ureter is associated with the ductus deferens, which is vas deferens. The ureter does not have a relationship with the reproductive organs directly, since they are positioned in the scrotum and not in the pelvic cavity. The primary function of the ureter is to transport urine from the kidneys to the urinary bladder. Urine produced by the kidneys collects in the renal pelvis and is funneled into the ureter. The ureters have smooth muscles in their walls that contract rhythmically in a process called peristalsis. This peristaltic wave, along with gravity, help propel urine from the kidneys to the bladder. The frequency and strength of peristaltic contractions can be influenced by factors such as the volume of urine being transported and the hydration status of the individual.
Next is the urinary bladder. The urinary bladder is an oval muscular organ that functions as a reservoir for urine before it is excreted from the body. An adult's bladder typically holds more than 1 pint of urine. Now let's move to the anatomy of the urinary bladder.
The position of the urinary bladder is in the anterior portion of the pelvic cavity behind the pubic symphysis. In men, it rests between the pubic bone in the front and the rectum in the back. In female, it rests in front of the vagina and uterus. The bladder is lined with rugae same like the stomach. These folds allow it to expand when the bladder is full and contract when empty. Next is the function of the urinary bladder. First is the storage of urine. The bladder stores urine until it is convenient to remove it from the body. It can hold approximately 300 to 500 milliliters of urine in a normal adult. Second is micturition. The process of urination is controlled by a complex interaction between the bladder, sphincter, and the nervous system. When the bladder feels stretch receptor signal the brain to initiate the urge to urinate. During urination, the detrusor muscles contract, the internal sphincter relax, and the external sphincter opens. The last part of the urinary system is the urethra. Urethra is the tube extending from the bladder to the exterior of the body. For the anatomy of the urethra, there are two urinary sphincters, one located at either end of the urethra. A sphincter is a ring-like muscle that causes a passageway. These muscular rings control the flow of urine from the bladder into the urethra and out of the urethra through the urethral meatus. The urethral meatus, also known as the urinary meatus, is the external opening of the urethra. The term meatus means the external opening of a canal. For female, urethra is approximately 1.5 inches long and the urethral meatus is located between clitoris and the opening of the vagina. For male, is approximately 8 inches long and the urethral meatus is located at the tip of the penis. Besides that, in female, the urethra transports only urine, meanwhile in male, the urethra transports both urine and semen. The prostate gland, which is part of the male reproductive system, surrounds the urethra. The urethra runs through the center of the prostate from the bladder to the penis, letting urine flow out of the body. The function of urethra is for the excretion to carry urine from the bladder to the outside of the body and to transport urine from the bladder through the urethral meatus. That is all from us for urinary system. Thank you.